Joining us now, a national champion, dual threat analyst, Blaine Fowler, Uncle B, back in Studio B. Blaine, nice to have you back on the program.
Good to be here, guys.
BYU basketball has lost its last 3 road games. Here we are talking about what if they win 6
what
in a row?
What if they do this, right?
Where the Blues go?
They got to win the next one. They got to win the next one at Pepperdine, a place they've lost 4 times in a row. And then they got to go to San Diego. So what about the next 2 games on the road has you most concerned?
Well, Pepperdine thinks that they can beat BYU at their place, although they've struggled a little bit more this year. So this Pepperdine team's not as good. And from a matchup perspective, Pepperdine has beaten BYU there because their guards would turn the corner, penetrate, kick the basketball, and cause BYU all kinds of problems. BYU had trouble staying in front of them and containing them off the dribble in recent years. They still have some guys that can do that, but they're just not making shots the way they have in past couple years. So even though Pepperdine, from a mindset perspective, thinks that they can beat BYU at their place because they've done it, I'm not sure in a rebuilding kind of a year for them that they're going to have as much a chance as they've had in the past. So I'm more concerned with San Diego in a second game of a road swing on Saturday afternoon and their ability to do the same thing, stay in front of the ball off the dribble and be able to stay out of foul trouble and to be able to win on the road. And the thing that concerns me most is BYU's shown some susceptibility to losing to teams that they should win to on the road. I mean, that's my concern. Now, what gives me some confidence is that TJ Haws is playing better right now. I think Elijah Bryant took a little bit of a dip for 2 reasons. First of all, he got whacked in the head, and I do believe that affected him for obviously the rest of that game and the next. And then TJ kind of emerged during that same time. Now Elijah comes back, and it's like, oh, wait a minute now. My role was I had to be the guy because I had to carry the scoring load. Now TJ's carrying some of that scoring load. What should my role be right now? His role needs to be just go back to doing exactly what you did and let TJ be complimentary and both of you go out and get 16 plus. And I think that they can get to that over this next week. The fact that TJ's playing well is a big, big deal for BYU because Elijah has it in him. We know that. And I really believe that the dip he took was a result of not the injury, but getting hit in the head and kind of not being himself for a couple of games. With both of those guys firing on all cylinders and Yoli with that inside presence so they can go inside out, both of those guys can attack off the dribble. BYU's capable of beating anybody in the league, including St. Mary's and Gonzaga, but they haven't had all 3 of those guys in the games that they've lost. They just haven't had that. So it's a long shot that it all comes together, but is it possible? Yeah, I'm telling you, there's a chance.
Saturday, BYU came from behind down 6 with 22 seconds left. This wild finish to beat San Francisco in overtime. Spencer's compared that to maybe the UMass win where, hey, you rally after that. Do you think that game impacts BYU in a positive way?
I think absolutely it does. And because guys, so Eli had been struggling a little bit, but he makes the take the game into overtime 3-point shot, right? So all of a sudden he's relied on again. He emerges back. It's way better to learn lessons and win. Because BYU's learned some lessons in losses. I think they learned some lessons about defending down the stretch at Pacific. And remember, they had a chance to win that. They've had a couple of games this year, Pacific and St. Mary's, where they had a chance to win at the end and didn't. And they learned some valuable lessons there, but they lost. Yeah, that's great. You learn lessons, but you lose. It's way better to learn some lessons about how you manage games and what you have to do to win in the end and win. And it gives you confidence. And I think maybe the confidence is TJ was phenomenal in this game. Elijah made some important shots.
They learned that lesson.
Yeah.
Get Elijah the ball
at the end of the game, the guy that should take the shot, if possible. If somebody can't get to the rim, kick it to him. He'll make it.
Yes.
He's the guy, right? And so he needs to have the opportunity to be the primary guy you design that play for or the play you design off of. So if they take him away and they don't help and TJ can get all the way to the rim or get to the free throw line, that's great. Let TJ have the ball in his hands or just sheer, and then the plan is get as far as you can and then kick the ball, and that guy will make the shot.
Or let the refs call a terrible foul and you just go to the free throw line in overtime. Like, that was such a bad call.
Hey.
TJ's going to get into the lane, though, like you said.
That game, at halftime, I said to Dave, I go, man, this game's going to be over by 20-4 because they only called 11 fouls in the first half. 4. Only 4. Like, BYU had 7, right?
BYU didn't take a free throw until
BYU had 7
10 minutes into the second half.
Right, but only 4 on the other side, right? So now I'm thinking, man, this game, these guys aren't going to call anything, but so this is good. So if that's how it's going to be, BYU needs to adjust. And they need to go, okay, they're not going to call foul. So quit going into the key and flopping and expecting to get a call. Go hard to the rim, finish like Yoli did on that one. The one where Yoli just went up and just attacked and got hit in the chest and still made the bucket. Now, he did get the foul on that one, but that's the way you have to play if that's the way it's going to get called. Then in the second half, they called 7 bazillion fouls.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, I just want some consistency from half to half. Right? Yeah. And so, so BYU was the beneficiary of some calls in the second half and overtime. There's no doubt about it. The 3-point play with Josh Shear.
Bad call.
No,
but you'll take it.
It's like, okay, whatever.
Well, and the reach in that put TJ Haas on the line to put BYU up with 10 seconds left in overtime, too, was just ticky-tack, right?
4.3.
4.3, yeah. Even less time.
Let it be noted that with 22.9, I said to Dave on the air, I said, 22.9, you can extend a game a long time in a college game. If
you extended this game twice.
If you can make threes or 3-point plays the old-fashioned way and foul. I mean, you can extend the game. Well, then they decided to really, really help BYU out by throwing the ball away. And then how about the play when you've got the lead in 11 seconds and you get a run out, and that's a freshman. Remember, that's a freshman that had the ball in his hands.
Sule Boom.
Right. So, and he's going to be a phenomenal player, by the way. Man, I like that kid's game. Yeah, but what he should, when he was 10 yards behind everybody, he should have gone, wait a minute, I can basically dribble this thing out or get fouled with 1 second to go in the game, and then BYU has no chance. So you take it all the way under the hoop, and then you dribble it back out around, and chances are you can dribble the thing out and you just win the game. You go make... It took him 2 seconds to execute that entire play. That was as good as BYU fouling them and getting the ball back and him making both free throws. So it translated him making both, but it kept BYU in the game. And he could have ended the game.
11 seconds to work with.
A veteran guy would get that and go, wait a minute, I don't even have to do anything. We can win this game right now. We just won this game by me catching this pass. And so that extended the game. So BYU got a little bit lucky down the stretch and they won. But remember, they didn't get lucky against Pacific and they didn't get lucky against St. Mary's. So maybe they were owed a lucky finish and a couple of good calls, right? Over the course of a season, those have to balance out.
Sure.
All right, Blaine, we'll finish with this. Because you're our guy, our college basketball analyst, if BYU wins the next 6 games, the 4 remaining regular season games, huge task, including Gonzaga, and then get 2 wins in Vegas and get to Tuesday night in the WCC Championship. Is there any at-large bid shot? They would have 26 wins and 7 losses going into Tuesday night.
Probably not. And, well, first of all, they'd have to beat Gonzaga twice. But you're saying they do that, right? Because think about it. If they beat the Zags here, then the Zags aren't going to catch St. Mary's and they're going to play them again in the semis.
Correct.
Right? So they got to beat Gonzaga twice. That's a big enough task. But if they do that, I feel like they should. But here's the problem. Their RPI right now is so low, and the rest of the league's RPI is low. The Gonzaga's RPI is not what it has been in past years. So you got 2 teams.
46 right now.
So you got 2 teams in the top 15, but from a power index perspective, and they do weight that, and all these other metrics, the Zags aren't considered as highly rated as they have been in past years, and the rest of the league is a little bit down. Now, and this is a year when if BYU doesn't lose the other games, because it's the rest of the league that hurts BYU this year. The games like Pacific are the ones that hurt you because there's other leagues. We talked about this last week. The Mountain West is top heavy, so they're only going to probably have 1 team, 2 at the most if somebody else wins the tournament. The Atlantic 10, where I spend some time, they're really down. We thought they'd be a 2-bid league. I think they're Rhode Island, and that's it this year, unless St. Bonaventure wins the tournament. So all of a sudden, there's other leagues that could give the WCC an extra bid, but BYU needed to not lose games against the lower tier, and they did. And
LMU.
Right. So that hurts. LMU Pacific
that one's
hurts.
The worst. Yeah.
Here's the sad thing is Pacific isn't highly regarded, but I look at that team. They're a good basketball team. Like, their guards are good. They could get a first round or a quarterfinal upset.
Yeah.
Absolutely, they're capable of it with their guard play. So we'll see.
All right, Blaine. Great stuff.
All right,
man.
guys. Thanks.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Blaine.